Your Excellency, Deputy Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Bahrain, representing His Majesty the King, Mr. Chairperson of the Shura Council of Bahrain, Mr. Speaker of the Council of Representatives of Bahrain, Mr. Secretary General, Madam representing the General Assembly of United Nations, Madam Speakers, Mr. Speakers, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. It's an honor to address you all at this inaugural ceremony of 146th IPU Assembly, here in the beautiful Kingdom of Bahrain. May I say that I will speak in name of all of you to say thank you to the National Assembly of Bahrain for its gracious and capable hosting of this assembly in the wonderful surroundings of the recently opened exhibition World Bahrain. Mr. Speaker and Mr. Chairperson, to both of you, I need to say thanks again for your personal commitment on the preparation of this assembly. All the details were oversight. And now we parliamentarians across the world, we have all the conditions to have a very productive and successful assembly. Allow me to extend my gratitude to the former Speaker of the Council of Representatives of Bahrain, Honorable Madame Fazia Zainal, because without her personal invitation and commitment to achieve all the conditions to host one of IPU assemblies, we will not be here. And equally, to our colleague and friend, Jamal. I am not seeing you because of the camera, but Jamal, you spend many sleepless nights to guarantee that everything is on the right place as chairperson of the committee of the organization of this wonderful assembly. Thank you very much for all your efforts and for the staff that work with you. Your Excellency, Mr. Deputy Prime Minister, we are great for your presence, which is very important for us in IPU. And also it represents how is important the multilateralism and the parliamentarian diplomacy to the authorities and to His Majesty the King of Bahrain. Thank you for your presence, Excellency. Dear colleagues, the theme of this assembly is the promotion of peaceful coexistence and inclusive societies and combating all discrimination. And allow me to say that this is the correct place to discuss this issue, as I had the possibility to confer during the Bahrain Dialogue Forum a few months ago, where two great religious leaders, His Holiness Pope Francis, and the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, His Eminence Dr. Ahmed Al-Tayed, met with the support of His Majesty the King Ahmad bin Isa Al-Khalifa. But unfortunately, there are numerous indicators that peaceful coexistence and inclusion worldwide are in decline, and that intolerance and discrimination are on the rise. According to the Global Peace Index, the rise of violent demonstrations throughout 2022 pointed to increasing polarization, criticism of administrative structures, and decrease of tolerance towards diverging views. Online hate speech continues to sow division and is increasing against minorities. According to the report of United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, in addition, trust in government and in media worldwide is decreasing. Religious freedoms are being curtailed, and religious discrimination, racism, xenophobia are rising. We, as parliamentarians, we have an important role and responsibility when it comes to building a peaceful and inclusive society. We must begin this work in our own parliamentary committees. As shown by the huge caseload of the IPU Committee on the Human Rights of Parliamentarians, MPs are facing severe violations of their rights in many countries of our world. Our colleagues, are suffering from other members of parliament and from their constituents. It's a time for all MPs around the world say we are with you and to show our solidarity with all MPs that are suffering around the world. But, dear friends, more broadly, governments around the world must match their pledge to create tolerant and inclusive societies with concrete actions to guarantee human rights for all. In this context, I wish to recall extremely difficult situations where women are facing in many countries around the world, in particular in Afghanistan. The courage and the strength these women show, standing up against violation of their rights, be it in Afghanistan or in Tigray, for example, is incredible and deserves our full support. But more than that, it deserves a concrete action of the international community with a process of dialogue to find solutions to this violation of human rights. Many of the problems we are facing today are painfully familiar. The war in Ukraine continues with signs of the further escalation and ever more severe global consequences. The IPU Task Force on the peaceful resolution of the war in Ukraine has continued its engagement, seeking to promote open and productive discussions. It hopes to find a route to bring parliamentarians from both sides around the same table. It was not possible until now. The IPU calls for a ceasefire didn't have a success. Our goal remains crystal clear. This war must end. This invasion must end. The international law must prevail. We should respect the full integrity of Ukraine. But, dear friends, we have other problems in our world. Combat against terrorism that affect many hours of our planet, but especially the countries of the Sahel region, where in 2022, more people died than in all other countries of the world. In just 4 countries, died more people than on the other more than 190 countries of our world. It is important that everyone helps these countries to fight their war on terrorism. Otherwise, the problem will increase and more people will die or abandon this critical zone. The combat on poverty needs to be addressed. The last report from the United Nations indicates that least developed countries increased during the last years. How may we accept it? More help from the richer countries to poorer countries is urgent. But also, governance improvement in these countries is in many cases essential in order to have a real combat to poverty. Also, very near from here, we have the conflict in Palestine, which is very far to come to an end. You know what is the position of IPU. IPU defends the two-state solution, Israel and Palestine. Both states have the right to live in a sustainable and safe environment. Israel needs to feel safe without terrorist attacks that kill innocent people. But Palestine needs also to be safe and without fear of attacks, and especially the Palestinians need to have a sustainable state. which is why we need to condemn the settlements policy of Israel. Dear friends, moreover, we must not forget that many other conflicts around the world exist. But MPs do not enter these challenge times empty-handed. Powerful concepts and tools are at their disposal. The application of both the human security and common security approach with foresee action centered on the human development and the protection of people, as well as the use of dialogue to build trust and confidence between people and nations, should help us in this endeavor. In Nusa Dua, dear friends, 1 year ago, we recognized the urgency of the climate crisis as an existential threat to humankind, and knowledge that immediate action must be taken. After tragic floods in Pakistan or in Brazil, hurricanes in the Philippines, Venezuela, Mozambique, just to give some examples, that killed thousands of people. The rise of sea level in the Pacific that is destroying lives in so many countries. Awful and severe drought that it and heat waves that kill thousands in Africa, in Europe. We must act, not just talk. We will be launching here the IPU News Parliament for the Planet campaign, with the aim of mobilizing all parliaments, MPs and staff to undertake concrete actions to reduce their carbon footprint. And IPU itself will also be taking action. Some of these actions are institutional, but others are related to individual behavior and consumption. We all can, may I say, we all should do more to combat climate change. The 10 actions that accompanied the launch of the IPU climate change campaign outline concrete steps that each one of us can take. I encourage you all to use this document and make a commitment to yourself and your children and grandchildren that this planet will be a better place in which to live. But we also need to be prepared for other dangers. The worst of the COVID-19 pandemic is over, but another health crisis may be around the corner. Technological advances, particularly in terms of vaccines, are reasons for optimism. The recent devastating earthquakes in Syria and Turkey show that we need to renew our focus on disaster risk reduction in every part of the world. In the Horn of Africa, 22 million people are currently experiencing acute food insecurity due to a historical drought that began in late 20s and is expected to continue. Already there, more than 1.7 million people have left their homes in search of food and water. The clock is also ticking on the Sustainable Development Goals. We must not backslide on our commitment to make the world a better place for all by 2030. Great strides have been made over the past 20 years, yes, and we must build on these achievements. But it seems that democracy is under threat also. Limiting the rights of young men and women to express their views and process peaceful pose a major challenge to democracy. Limiting humans' access to or even excluding them for decision-making positions like education or healthcare is also a threat to democracy and to the basic human rights. I will repeat again, what is happening in Afghanistan needs a strong condemnation. When the right of education is refused to women And we know also that MPs are educated. The proliferation of disinformation and fake news is shaping up to be another big issue on our agenda. We need to ensure that our parliaments become ever stronger institutions, more effective, more inclusive, more resilient, more accountable. And that's why we are here, because IPU assemblies are a golden opportunity for us to learn from one another, to combine our strengths and address all the problems together. The IPU has worked in an intensive way for many years to encourage greater gender equality in parliaments. And the Kigali Declaration on Gender Equality and Gender-Sensitive Parliaments adopted at our last assembly was just the last example of this commitment. But sadly, parliamentary elections last year were a mixed bag in terms of improving the gender balance of our parliaments. On the upside, we may say, for the first time ever in our history, not a single parliament is working without one woman elected or appointed. It's a good news. But unfortunately, the parliamentary renewals in 2022 saw a woman elected or appointed to more than 40% of the seats, but the growth was so slow, 0.4, that we need more decades, several decades, to achieve the parity. So we must redouble efforts to reach the goals we have set for our parliaments and our countries. In addition to more women MPs, we need to have more young MPs. We cannot be truly inclusive without including the younger generation. The IPU's I Say Yes to Youth in Parliament campaign continues to go from strength to strength, but more can be done. I encourage all of you here in this wonderful city of Panama to promote this campaign, and so we can help to rejuvenate your own parliament. Dear friends, dear colleagues, we will have a busy year ahead. Let us set the scene for a productive 2023 by getting down to work on the many issues we are facing right away here in Panama. I know that you all came here with this objective: work to build a better world. And we will do it during these days. Thank you so much.